Good morning and welcome to our Backpack to Briefcase episode on distinguishing must-haves from nice-to-haves in your career. We're pleased to welcome USU alum Chelsea Yoshikawa. My name is Erin and I'm a career coach here at the Huntsman School of Business, where we have created the Backpack to Briefcase series to discuss all things career preparation. Chelsea is a graduate of the Huntsman School of Business, and while attending here, she served on the student body for the USU-SA Clubs and Diversity as vice president. She was a USU ambassador and a Huntsman pro sales coach. Recently, she's been promoted to sales director of shopper-based design at Procter & Gamble. Chelsea has spent her time post-college managing global brands at General Mills and P&G, and she is passionate about career progression and helping Aggies excel in their professions. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for being with us today. I'm going to turn the time over to you to share your valuable tips and information with our students. And then at the end, we'll include some questions that some students have submitted and that we'll read to you on their behalf. So I'll turn the time to you now.
Great. Erin, thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, Aggies. I wish I could be with you in person, but super excited to talk about navigating your career path. You guys already went through something similar when you chose which college to go to or which major to major in at the Huntsman School of Business. Now is such an exciting time of your life where you get to really distinguish what is a absolutely must in your life and what's kind of a plus one or what you may not care about as much when it comes to navigating your career. So as Erin said, I originally started at General Mills right out of college. I was able to work on their snacks business as more of an analyst position, working on brands like Gushers and Chex Mix and Nature Valley. From there, I went to work with Amazon on our Amazon team, and I managed brands such as Cheerios, Cascadian Farms, and Betty Crocker. From there, I did another role where I managed our business on the Target business, managing our brands like Yoplait and Pillsbury. After spending a handful of years at General Mills, I made a career path switch and ended up joining Procter & Gamble, where I became a category manager, managing our Dollar General business across our healthcare brands. And now I am a sales director, as Erin said, for shopper-based design and innovation across brands like Pepto, ZzzQuil, Vicks, DayQuil, NyQuil, Prilosec, all the fun stuff in your life. And who knows what's next? You can see on the screen that I have a bunch of question marks because I don't know. Maybe I'll manage new brands in the future. Maybe I'll be in a different position. Maybe I'll take on different accountabilities or work on another customer team again. There's a lot of opportunities for me. And no matter what career path you choose to enter, there's going to be a lot of career opportunities for you as well. Okay, so what are some things to consider when you're first deciding where you want to go for your career? At first, a lot of times you think that base salary is the end all be all. That is the biggest denominator that you will consider when choosing where to work post-college. Base salary is very important, but when I think about a total compensation package, I put together a list of things that may be worth exploring or maybe worth understanding more before you choose to join a company. So when it comes to finance, consider what the base salary is, but also look into, do they offer bonuses? What does a retirement plan look like? Does the company contribute to your 401k, or is it just a self-led option? Is there life insurance? Can you purchase shares to own stake in the company? Some companies can also enter or offer some mental well-being options, such as paid time off. Is it unlimited? If it is unlimited, do people actually take time off? If you don't use all your days, can you then cash them out for money at the end of the year? Or can you carry them over to the next year? Paid time off, big thing to talk about. Maybe a lot of companies these days are now paying back student loans. So is there education support or is there financial help with any student loans? Can you take a sabbatical in the future? Is there any type of employee assistant programs? As an example, for me, if I were to, let's say, be going through a life stage change, let's say, and I needed a lawyer as an example, I work for a company that would be able to assist with some of those fees. And so there's a lot of different types of assistant programs that companies are willing to provide as well. Your physical well-being is also very important. Understanding their health insurance plans, what is covered and what is not, if there's sick leave, if there's preventative care, if you choose to have kids in the future, is there parental leave? That flows into work-life balance, understanding what the flexibility is. Maybe you want a job that's hybrid, working in the office or also working from home, or maybe you want a career later on in your life where it's a reduced work schedule where you're only working 4 days a week. And so really understanding all of these elements can help you decide on what's most important when considering a total compensation package fresh into a new career. As an example, let's say you have 2 job offers. One job offer is offering you a base salary of $150,000. Another job offer is offering you a base salary of $100,000. Initially, maybe you'll want to go with job offer number 1. Job offer number 1, you find out a little bit later that on average, people are working 60, maybe 70 hours per week. Job offer number 2, you're working 40 to 50 hours per week. Let's say paid time off, vacation days, everything else is equal. When you actually do the math to see how is your time being valued, both job offers are actually paying very close to similar of like total dollars getting compensated per hour. So from there, you can decide, well, what does a career path look like at both of these options? Perhaps at the first job offer that you might be given, that you will stay in this position for, let's say, 3 to 4 years. And even after that, maybe there's a limited ability to move up. While job offer number 2, maybe you're starting at a lower base salary, but it's pretty likely that you'll get promoted with a salary increase after 1 year in the workforce. From there, you can then decide which is the right fit for you. Of course, there's other factors to take into consideration, but this is just an example of really how to think about things when you're thinking about what matters most to you when starting your career. So let's say you choose the place you want to work. Are you done talking about your career or what the path looks like for you moving forward? My answer is absolutely not. What matters most to you in your career will change very often and very frequently. So I am a huge advocate that on a regular basis, I would say on a quarterly basis, 4 times a year with your manager or whomever is managing your career path, you should be talking regularly about what interests you for your career and what you want to do next. So when I meet with my manager or I meet with my boss's boss or I meet with anyone from HR, these are some discussion points that I'll often bring up. I will talk about how I am currently performing in the role and areas that I want to focus on going next and what I'm going to achieve moving forward in this role that I'm currently in. I will also talk about what my career interests are, what I think are new skills that I want to learn, what are new roles that are interesting to me, what are responsibilities. If you haven't managed someone before, maybe that's something of interest to you that you want to develop skills in. Do you have any limitations? For example, when I moved around at General Mills and Procter & Gamble, I have moved to 3 different states post-graduating school from Utah State. I've lived in Minnesota, Tennessee, and now Cincinnati, Ohio. And so there was earlier on in my career, I wasn't willing to move from Minnesota because I was managing a dual career with my husband, who's more limited on locations that he could go. Now he works for a company that's extremely flexible and he works from home fully, which allows us to be very unlimited in potentially moving to future locations. And so that was a change in my life when he got a new job that allowed us to maybe reassess on what mattered most to us and where we wanted to go next. So again, you should be having these conversations frequently and often with your manager to really understand what's next for you and your career. Your manager is not the only person you should be having these conversations with. When I think about who to include on these regular career path conversations with, here's a list of initial thoughts that I have for you. So again, we talked about your manager. You want to ensure that they are aligned and they have full clarity on what you want to do and what you want to go and do next. If there's a career manager, let's say there's someone from HR who is actually managing your career path, or you want to better understand what are the options and what do they look like, you want to make sure that they're also included on what you're interested in. You also want to have mentors. It's important to have mentors both in the company you work for and outside of the company you work for that you can share ideas with, that you can ask for advice from. Ideally, they have a mentor would ideally have some idea of like what a career path looks like for you in your field, and can be someone that, again, doesn't have any stake in the game for you, but can give you true, candid feedback, and that's someone you could be fully transparent with. And then outside of mentors, you also want to have an advocate. An advocate is someone who is advocating for your support. When I transitioned to Procter & Gamble, I was nervous because I was going to lose some of the mentors and advocates that I currently established. Luckily, I was able to identify more mentors and advocates in my career path when I joined Procter & Gamble, which allowed me to do one role with P&G and then get promoted into a sales director role pretty early on due to advocates being aligned and working with my manager and my career manager and mentors, all fully supporting to get me to where I am today. So in summary, again, you want to review what your total compensation is and really understand what matters most to you. If you are someone who wants to work aggressive hours and you want to just do the grind for, let's say, 3 to 5 years or 10 to 15 years, you can always reassess that. But understand if you're going for the total salary, or if you want something that's a little bit more of a work-life balance situation, whatever it is, there's no correct answer for anyone. Secondly, you want to decide what matters most to you. Everyone's career path is very unique. Even if I stayed at General Mills, my career path would look vastly different from someone who I started with at the same time. So make sure you're really understanding what matters most to you, and you're reassessing frequently on things that, as life continues and what matters most, can continue to evolve and change for you. Understand what a career path looks like. You can understand this as you're researching companies that you're interested in working for, or you can ask to shadow people within your career to understand what their path looked like, and understand what their role looks like, and understand what past roles they had looked like. Really understand what others do, what their path looked like, to better understand what options are even possible. And then lastly, really remember to include key decision makers. Include them again at least 2 to 4 times a year to really talk about your career and what you want to go do what you want to go do next. So hopefully that's helpful. Would love to answer any questions you have. And as always, feel free to reach out anytime if you're looking for any type of advice or mentorship.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea. We love when we have our alums come back and share where they're at in their careers and your expertise. And this was just such a wonderful presentation. Really appreciate you being here. So we do have a couple of questions. I know that you touched base a little bit, but our first one that we have is, what are some practical tips for distinguishing between those must-haves and the nice-to-haves?
Yeah, I think really assessing where you are in your life is very important. For example, I mentioned this earlier, but when I lived in Minnesota managing a dual career, we just didn't have the ability to relocate at the time. So at that time, it was a must-have that we stayed in Minnesota. Maybe a nice to have, let's say, is something like unlimited paid time off. I do not currently have unlimited paid time off, but the number of days that I do have, I was able to negotiate with the company that I currently work for, and is something that I expect to increase as I continue to work in my career. And so really understanding what matters most to you uniquely and what is a non-negotiable, such as if you need to be in a certain location close to family, or if you're willing to move, really can help distinguish between the two.
Can you deep dive a little bit on how a student going into a new career could negotiate some of those things at the start of that journey for them?
Yes. So first of all, I would recommend you do not start negotiations until you have an offer in hand in writing. When you're interviewing, it's good to ask exploratory questions and to really understand what careers look like. But outside of just interviewing, you can go on LinkedIn and maybe see if you know any Utah State Aggies who are working at a company that you're interested in. And maybe they can connect you with someone who's in your field or someone else to understand what their career path looks like. Once you really understand things outside of maybe like discovering stuff that you would ask during an interview, then you'll get an offer in hand. Once you have an offer in hand, that's when you can start negotiating and understanding total compensation, whether it is the direct manager or someone from HR who is actually going over your total compensation package with you. You should ask key things like vacation days, paid time off, work culture, really important topics to really understand prior to committing to going to a company. And from there, you can then talk about discussing, negotiating the offer you're given, talk about this, if the salary is negotiable, if 401k is negotiable, if the amount of vacation days you get is negotiable. You would be surprised how much more that you can ask for than you would initially think of off the bat.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really appreciate that. Some of our students find themselves in a position where they get a job offer, they start to go through the process, and then another job offer comes in. Do you have any tips for them on deciding, like, okay, how do I select? And then once they've made a commitment to one, following through with that commitment as well?
Yeah, I would say it's very important to, I guess, have selective transparency. If you know that you're interviewing for other jobs, it's a very fair question to ask what the timeline and what the next steps look like in terms of what the interview stages would be, the next steps of the interview. I'd say if you get an offer and you are actively still interviewing with another company, you can ask for an extension of when your decision deadline is from the company you've received an offer from. And you can also notify the company that you're interviewing with that you did receive an offer from another company and that you would like to rediscuss what the interview timeline looks like. Perhaps that company has flexibility on being able to speed up that timeline for you. So again, you don't have to tell them absolutely every single detail of both companies, but it's important to be some level of transparent so you're not burning bridges. For example, I did leave General Mills, but I feel very confident that I left on a very good note. So much so that if I wanted to go back to General Mills, I feel like I could. I would hope that people who are interviewing with companies and who receive offers from companies are leaving on notes that are, even if they're declining an offer, that they could go back in a couple years if they wanted to potentially apply for another job. You really don't want to burn bridges. as much as possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Thank you so much. So you're just fantastic. Our next question that we have is work-life balance, right? That's a big topic. It's often emphasized in both our career positions and for our students. But what does that really mean? And how can individuals navigate the concepts effectively within their careers?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand what an average day of work looks like. When you're in college, it's such a great time because you could ask almost anyone, can I come shadow you for a day? And you could actually see what a full days of work looks like in someone's life. For example, there was a few years ago that I had someone in high school reached out to me of a friend, like it was a friend's daughter who was interested in what a career looked like after college, even though she's not even in college yet. And she came and shadowed me for a day. So college people, everyone loves to help students. And so really understanding what a career looks like is a great opportunity while you're in school. And then again, when I did choose to go to Procter & Gamble, I reached out to friends to see who had mutual connections with people who worked at Procter & Gamble. I set up time with them to understand what their career truly looked like. And these are people who have zero say in the interview process. And so really being able to have a candid conversation of what the culture really looks like within a company and to really understand what the job responsibilities look like are really helpful ways to understand what that balance would look like for you. Again, someone could be totally fine working 70 hours a week, or maybe you already have young kids or are planning to soon in the future and you want a little bit more of a balance, or you have a dual career where you're both caring for kids at home. All of these factors can really influence what does matter most to different people.
Okay. That is great. So being a student of the Huntsman yourself, what are some of the different ways that you took advantage in preparing for your own future career while you were here in college?
Yeah, so I think a lot of college is not just what happens in the classroom, but what happens outside of the classroom as well. Spoiler alert, if you're watching this video, chances are you're doing more than some of your peers are doing. And so taking advantage of all the resources that the Huntsman School has is such a unique opportunity. Being able to connect with alumni who have attended Utah State is a really great opportunity as well. And so I'd say while you're in college, it's really important to also see if you can establish a couple of mentors in the school as well, whether it's someone from the faculty office within the Huntsman School, whether it's Erin, or maybe it's a professor. There's a lot of people who are willing to help. And so I think being able to have resources that you can bounce ideas off of or ask questions or go to for advice is really, really important.
Fantastic. Yeah. We love, as you know, being an alumni, we really support and love our students, and we want you guys to be involved and get out of the classroom and start applying what you're learning even before you hit your first career, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so one of our very favorite questions to ask is, are there any additional resources that you would recommend? And this could be on topic, it could be other things within your career, but books, podcasts, what do you enjoy?
That is a good question. There's a lot of really good books that are coming to mind. I'm trying to think of specifically for maybe college students, such as like how to gain friends and influence people, or for women who are exploring their careers. I love Sharon Sandberg. She's a great author and has a lot of great books that I would recommend. As far as podcasts go, I think there's a lot of like fun podcasts such as like How I Built This, that you can understand like companies starting from the ground up. And then also if there's any if there's any companies that you're interested in, here's kind of a different take on it. Set up Google alerts for companies or brands that you're interested in working for, because as you're preparing to interview or preparing to go into the workforce, you can see what news medias are saying about the company, or you can see what's hot, so you can incorporate some of those topics in interviews that you're having. And so I think that's a really good resource as well.
Perfect, thanks. And I've got to know, what's the last book that you read, or what are you currently reading?
I've been pushing myself to read more books for fun. Yeah. So a little bit less business book based over here. But lately I've been reading, like I recently read Where the Crawdads Sing because I saw the movie, really liked it, decided to read it. But I'm also reading a lot of shopper psychology books right now, such as Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. There's a lot of really cool, I think, like books about psychology and the way that shoppers think while in store that I find really fascinating and that are directly applicable to the job that I have. So that's a fun way to sharpen the saw as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. And you have to find that balance, right? So I'm the same way. I'm currently reading The Blueprint in preparation for a new academic year. And but I've also just finished Beyond the Wand, which was Tom Felton's biography, right? So you just have to find that balance sometimes. There's that work-life balance. You know, you got your in the field.
Your book-life balance.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly it. So, well, thank you again so much for being with us today. It's been fantastic meeting with you as always. We just want to remind our students to check out the Huntsman events calendar. We always have a lot happening within the Huntsman School. There's great opportunities like Backpack to Briefcase and Leadership Forum and other things to participate in. We hope that you have a great rest of your day, and thank you again for being with us.
Thanks, Erin. Go Aggies.